So you're probably studying for an exam or you're working really hard at a class, but you still can't seem to get the stuff that you study to stay stuck in your brain. Well, I'm here to help. Hi, I'm Hasara, and in this video, I'm going to take you down 4 things that you could do to help enhance your studying and to help to remember the things that you study and keep them in your brain. So without further ado, let's go to point number 1, which is to go through past papers. Now, I know probably this is a very old school thing. Everyone would have told you by now. And if you're in school, your teachers probably told you more than 100 times to do your past papers. But I cannot emphasize this hard enough because it is so important. Doing your past papers is going to help you in 2 different ways. One, so let's say you're going to start a new class and you take your past papers, right? And you go through your questions. You don't have to do them, you just read through them, okay? And the moment you read through your questions and then you turn into your text, now it actually gives you a brief outline or guidance as to what points in your text or what points in your lecture is actually high yield. Because sometimes, especially in university, we have big textbooks and we have lectures on certain topics which have a lot of information. Of course, everything is important, but everything is not equally important when it comes to exams. So when you go through your questions first, you already know at the back of your mind which points are actually important for you for the exam, which is going to be very good guidance for you, because otherwise you'll be studying all of it. And sometimes we tend to remember less important points rather than the more high yield ones. And the second way this would help you is to actually retain the information. So once you've studied, going through your past papers again and actually answering them would help you to sort of recall and revise and also get your practice. And most exams have recurring questions. So the exams you practice are more likely to appear on your exam. And even if they don't, even if the examiners come up with a totally new question bank, you still would have trained your brain to work with the patterns of questions that would pop up, and you would have an idea as to what the examiners think and what the examiners would expect of you, which would mean even if it's a completely new question, you would know how to answer that without much discomfort as to, having questions that you've never even attempted pop up and with no practice. Right, now, point number 2 is to discuss. Now, it's very important to have a friend group to discuss your studies with. Again, this helps you in 2 different ways. Let's say you have friends who are better than you at studies. And by discussing questions or certain topics that you don't understand with them, you would be able to learn from them new strategies, new problem-solving skills, and new ways of thinking, and get new insights on certain topic areas, because we all have different ways of thinking about certain subject areas. And most people who have a high score academically are able to think about certain things differently. They have their own unique ways of problem solving, different strategies that they use for exams. And these would be very helpful for us to learn from them and to apply in our own exams. So this is very useful. On the other side, also, studying with people who don't perform as well as you is also important. Now, this is because, let's say you have a friend who is not performing as well as you. In that case, you get to teach them. Now, when you teach them, what you're doing is, let's say you have a certain chapter that you're going to teach them. You're going to study that chapter. You're going to understand it and teach them in your own words. Now, this is exactly what you do at your exam, isn't it? You're going to study before your exam, and then you're going to go to the exam and answer the question in your own words. So this is actually a practice for the exam. And when you teach a friend of yours, and you may get stuck in certain places, so when you do get stuck, you know exactly what areas that you're lacking in. So you might have thought that I know this certain topic, it's a piece of cake. But when you try to teach somebody, you realize that you get stuck here, you get stuck there, you're not able to sort of put into words a certain point, So then you're able to identify things that you need to brush up and go back to your text or your lecture notes. And this sort of gives a more holistic approach where you're revising things that you've studied by teaching, as well as you're learning new points and new strategies also by other people. So it works both ways. So it's very important to have a study group. Now, point 3 is to apply the things that you study into your daily life. Now, depending on what you study, this can be a little bit tricky, but it is worthwhile doing. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you're an A-level student and you're studying physics. And you have studied a topic on refraction, okay? And you come down to your kitchen and you see a glass with half-filled water and a spoon in it, which appears to be crooked. Now, the moment you see that, you're able to identify that, oh, this is refraction of light. And then you can recall the lesson that you have learned on refraction and apply it. Let's say you see a rainbow, and the moment you see it, you're able to sort of remember that a prism can divide white light into the 7 colors. And then you can sort of recall that different colors have different refractions and sort of attach the lesson that you learned at physics class to your daily life. Now, what this allows is when you see these cues on a daily basis, you're able to constantly recall the subject matter that you have studied. Another example is, let's say you're studying music and you go somewhere and you hear this classical piece playing in the background or in a radio, and the moment you hear it, you're able to identify, oh, this is this piece by this composer in this period, in this country, and that would sort of bring out the lesson that you have learned in class again to your daily life. And what this does is, like I said, you keep picking cues from your environment that would trigger you to recall and remember stuff that you have studied, which helps you to retain the stuff that you have studied, and plus it also makes your subject matter much more interesting. Right, moving on to point number 4, which is spaced repetition. This is actually not one of my favorites, but it is very, very important because, as boring as it sounds, this is what actually keeps things in your brain with time. So let's say you study a certain topic on Monday, say topic A on Monday, and you study topic B on Tuesday, C on Wednesday, D on Thursday, and so on. By the time the week is done and you're in next Monday, you won't remember a big percentage of the things that you've studied the previous Monday. About 70% of the stuff that you would have studied would be gone. So now, if you had recalled what you learned, that is topic A last Monday, on let's say about Thursday, Friday, so you could keep a gap of 2 to 3 days and study that on Thursday and Friday again, then by the time you come to the following Monday, you would actually have some idea and some memory of it retained in your head. So the thing here is to consciously sort of block out periods of time in your calendar to revise these topics, because the moment you revise them, it sort of brings you back to the topic and you are able to recall. And it's important to space out your reviews because you're going to get stacked up with more and more subject matter that you learn throughout the week and months, and sort of reduce the frequency but still keep on coming back and reviewing your subject matter until your exams. And those are the 4 points that I wanted to go through. I hope you found these 4 useful. Well, obviously you have to apply them and see if it does work. It probably will, but seriously, you have to apply them. And well, that's about it for this video today. And I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, and if you got some value out of it, please do remember to like and subscribe. And if you want to say anything or share your thoughts, do leave a comment down below. And that's a wrap up for today. Hope you have a wonderful day or night watching, and bye bye.